On today's First Time Buyer channel, the question is being house poor worth it? Hey, welcome back. Enrique here with First West Financial. I'm a mortgage broker right here in the beautiful Coachella Valley in Southern California. We service all of California. We do mortgage loans for anybody that is interested in purchasing a home. Now, we love to work with first-time buyers. That's why we created the First-Time Buyer channel. There is a lot of misinformation and lack of education and a lot of questions that people have in relationship to their purchasing of a home, especially if this is your first time. So what we did is we created the First-Time Buyer channel to answer your questions and bring some clarity to something that can be a little confusing and intimidating. So let's get started. Today we're going to answer a question. Is being house poor worth it? Well, in order to answer that, first let's find out what does it mean to be house poor and why does that matter to you? Well, being house poor means that you purchase a home that you qualify for, but your payment is so high that even though you qualify for it, you cannot afford anything else. And you end up getting stressed out because you're not making the payments on your home. Now, a lot of people say to you, you should be able to purchase as much of a house as you can afford or as you qualify for because it's a real estate investment and you're going to do well with that. So let's talk about that. Is being house poor worth it? Well, let me tell you, firsthand experience, I talk to dozens of homeowners every single week that call me because either they want to refinance or they want to sell their house or buy a different one because they are struggling with their payments. And you sit there and you go, well, wait a minute, why is it that you're struggling with your payments if you got qualified for the mortgage? Didn't the bank knew that you could actually afford it? Yes. So here's the answer. Just because you get qualified for a certain amount or a certain payment doesn't mean that you should buy that much of a house. So I'll give you an example of that. Let's say that you purchase a home, you fill out all of your paperwork, you go see a lender, see how much you qualify and say, hey, you can qualify for up to $2,000 in your payment. And you say, hey, now that sounds good. And let's say you make $4,500. Well, that's well within the ratios. In other words, the computer and the underwriter will approve you. But here's what happens. After taxes, and after they take your deductions, and after they take your health insurance, you're taking almost over half of what you make and you put it into your house. And now you're struggling. Now you're having difficulty with your payments. So one of the things that is really, really important is just because the lender tells you that you can actually afford that on paper doesn't necessarily mean that you can actually afford it in your pocket. So what is the suggestion that we make to every single first-time buyer that we talk to? The first thing we tell them is do a budget. Sit down with your spouse or with yourself if you're single or with whoever you're going to purchase this home with and do a complete budget where you list all of the money that you get to take home, not what you make, but what you get to take home after deductions versus all of the money that you are spending on things, whether it's bills or car payments or credit cards. That is going to give you a pretty clear picture of how much money can you devote to housing. If you are currently renting and you pay rent and you can actually afford a little more than what you're paying, that's a good clear indication of how much of a house you can afford. The problem is sometimes people are living with relatives. They don't know what it's like to carry a $2,000 mortgage payment. So yeah, on paper, you can actually do that, but you're going to have to cut down on going out to eat or spending money on Amazon or buying things or entertainment or video games or whatever it is that you spend your money on. So doing that budget is probably the first step as you get pre-qualified. I have people all the time that ask me, what is the most that I'm qualified for? That always scares me because that means that I'm going to give them a number and they're going to go buy the most amount of house that they can actually afford. That's not always advisable. So being house poor is not fun because you sit around the house and you have this beautiful home and you have these huge payments and you're struggling to make your payments on everything else. Or maybe you don't have any money left over to do some other things that you want to do. So always find a balance between what you're qualified for and what you're budgeted for and find the correct number of how much of a house payment you can afford. This is Enrique with the First Time Buyer channel. We are here to help you with all of your home buying needs. All you have to do is reach out to us. We service all of California, 760-488-6482. We're always here, 24 hours a day. We answer our phones. And I hope you have a great day.